The creeping frost had already claimed 3 homes, its silver veins cracking the timber and stone. Now it crawled toward the last warm spring, the heart of the village, where a single small girl named Elara just sat and watched it come. The smooth river stone around her neck was the only warm thing left on the ridge that stood between her village and the endless creeping ice. They called her the girl who did nothing. While other children ran and shouted, Elara sat. While others rushed to finish their chores, Elara would mend a net with slow, perfect stitches until it was stronger than new. Her world was the warmth of the spring, the one place her village owed its life to, a gift of steam in the thin, cold air. Then the white hunger came, a frost that did not melt with the dawn. It crept down from the highest peaks, silent and absolute, freezing the very soul of the rock. The elders declared that if the spring froze, the village would be a tomb by the next moon. This was not a storm to be weathered. It was an ending. Kale, the strongest warrior, hefted his axe and pointed its soot-blackened head at the silent girl. The whole village was gathered, their faces tight with fear, their breath pluming in the unnaturally cold air.
The mountains are cursed, and you sit there dreaming. While we fight, you do nothing.
Elara did not look at him. She only looked at the frost. Its edge advanced, a line of crystalline death. Kale roared and led the warriors forward. This was the first strike. They met the ice with fire, with fury. Great pine logs were set ablaze, their flames roaring 20 feet high. They swung torches like hammers, smashing them against the encroaching ice. But the frost did not care for bravery. It hissed, and the flames sputtered. Where the fire touched it, the ice seemed to drink the heat, growing thicker, faster, its cold fingers snuffing out the light. The warriors fell back, their faces grim, their greatest weapon useless. The frost advanced, and Elara watched. Her gaze wasn't empty, it was focused. She did not see a monster, she saw a pattern. She saw how the frost flowed like water, how it sought the lowest, coldest ground, how it avoided one small thing. A tiny emerald green moss that glowed with a faint inner light, growing only on the underside of stones, warmed by the spring steam. This was her first attempt. That night, while the others huddled in the great hall, sharpening axes for a battle they could not win, Elara crept out. Her hands, small and bare, carefully peeled a single strip of the glowing moss from a rock. She laid it on the frozen ground, a thin green line in the path of the white hunger. The frost crept forward. It touched the line of moss, and it stopped. It recoiled, like a snake from a hot coal, then slowly began to creep around it. The moss held. Kale saw her from the doorway.
A line of weed? That is your plan to stop a glacier, girl. The cold has frozen your wits.
He turned away in disgust. The other villagers, seeing his scorn, shook their heads and whispered. The girl who did nothing was now the girl who did madness. They saw a failed attempt. But Elara saw the answer. If the spring froze, it was not just the end of warmth. It was the end of them. She felt a tremor of fear, a cold that had nothing to do with the ice. But she held the smooth, warm stone at her neck and pushed the feeling down. Fear was a fire. It burned you out. Patience was a stone. It endured. And this is where her real work began. For the next day and night, she did not rest. While the warriors prepared a desperate, massive fire pit, a final futile blaze of glory, Elara worked. She moved with a silent, tireless purpose, gathering every single scrap of the glowing moss. She did not build a wall to fight the frost. She drew a line to guide it. Patiently, piece by tiny piece, she laid a perfect, unbroken circle of the living, glowing moss around the entire boundary of the warm spring. It was a fragile, shimmering ring of green against a world turning white. As the last hour of darkness fell, the coldest of the night, Kale and his warriors stood ready by their great pyre, ready for their final battle. He saw Elara, sitting calmly inside her glowing circle, and gave one last bitter laugh.
The frost will be here by morning. Your garden is a fool's errand. We die with fire in our hands. You will die with weeds.
The frost is not a warrior, Kale. You cannot fight it. You can only show it another way.
Then the white hunger surged. It poured down the mountainside, a silent, unstoppable wave of absolute cold. It flowed over the warriors' abandoned torches, snuffing them instantly. It rushed toward the spring, the last point of warmth and life in the valley. It hit the glowing green circle, and it stopped. The entire massive front of the frost halted as if it had struck a mountain of granite. The ice tried to push, to overwhelm the fragile barrier, but the moss hummed with a life the frost could not understand and could not extinguish. Frustrated, its own immense pressure building against the unyielding line, the white hunger had nowhere to go. Blocked from its prize, the relentless force turned, splitting and flowing harmlessly down the ravines on either side of the spring, leaving it an island of warmth in a sea of ice. The villagers watched, their mouths agape. Kale stared, his axe hanging limp in his hand, his pride shattered into 1,000 pieces. The sun rose, and its light hit the protected spring, sending steam into the clean, cold air. The white hunger, defeated not by force but by a quiet understanding, began its slow retreat back to the peaks. Elara stood, touching the unbroken ring of moss. For the greatest storms are not overcome by force, but by the patience to find the one small thing that turns the tide. And so the village learned that while fury burns itself out against the unmovable patience, finds the one crack where the light gets in. Which part of this hit hardest? Tell me in the comments. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe to Deep Nirvana for a new fable every week.